Anyone else get the opinion that they're just really pushing the four kids angle in this season? So, now we must stop the separatist plot to have encrypted messages. I like how Mace Windu's like, these are no ordinary droids. And he all but admits that the reason is because they've all worked with Jedi before. But the implication is very strongly there that all of these droids have not been memory wiped. In other words, that they have had droid effects taken place. This is hysterical, since one of the first things they do is take out the memory of one of the droids. Yeah. It is nice to see another Parwanese, or Parwan, or however you're supposed to say that. But what's with the Mad Doctor routine? Also, is anyone else really disturbed by the way they basically kill that droid? They remove his memory circuits to make room for, the command center. Now, the idea might be that eventually they would go ahead and put his memory circuits back in him, but they never actually say that in this episode, so it's just, we're just going to take out your brain, is basically what they're saying. Yeah. Don't worry, they're just droids. Star Wars in general has done a lot to, for lack of a better way to put this, humanize its droids, especially the Clone Wars show. And I find that interesting since it's also gone out of its way, the show and Star Wars in general, to show how much people just don't think of droids as anything more than furniture. I find that very interesting. Anyways, notice there is a little bit of a droid hierarchy, too. You kind of see it. I mean, we've seen it many times before, but you definitely see it in this episode. We've got the actual battle droids, the tactical droids, the planning droids. Then below them, you've got the more humanoid droids, like the WAC, for example. And then below them, you've got the astromechs, which are considered just straight-up mechs, bottom of the barrel. And this actually comes through in the end of the episode, where the battle droids are like, get out of our way, you stupid astromechs. That's probably I know this is a weird point to mention this, but that's probably my favorite part of the entire episode. Because, of course, they wouldn't think anything about droids walking through. They're droids. Droids serve, in the Star Wars economy and industry and just general infrastructure, societally as well as in terms of production, droids serve such an overwhelming gap filler for everything. They're in every crack of every organization. There's just droids constantly. Dozens, hundreds, thousands of different types of them, all serving their own particular needs and purposes. Some built well and some not. And so it makes perfect sense that, I mean, even if these were human soldiers, they would just be like, get out of our way, astromechs. Because there's just an astromech carrying an injured astromech. That's nothing even noteworthy, right? I call them furniture, and I know that's not even a good parallel. How much would, if you were walking through your bedroom, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, there's a mattress in the middle of my room, right? It's just that ordinary. Then the rest of the episode's kind of dumb. Like, the super battle droids are just like, we will come with you. We will be in here with you. Like, it's, what? Although I do have to mention how it's interesting, and probably a little bit slanted, how Whack is competent 3 times in a row. First, he gets rid of the supers. Or I guess actually, no. First, he warns U9 to brace before using the gun, which he doesn't, which causes issues. Then he goes and deals with the super battle droids, very effectively, I might add. Then he says, make sure to be careful for trapdoors, which, of course, it is trapped and then they're screwed. I also love the way he just lays into the guy. So you're a map reader. Now, in the interest of fairness, an actual tactical analyst, even from a purely map perspective, is a very useful thing to have on a battlefield, to understand the terrain and how it's going to react and what it's going to do. Some people look at dirt and think dirt is dirt, but there's a difference between dirt that's normal, dirt that's caked, dirt that's smooth, dirt that that's not going to be able to withstand a certain amount of weight, or is going to end up becoming muddied or sloshy for heavier tanks. In other words, there's a lot of actual use for that kind of a thing. At the same time, however, Whack definitely has a point. This is not the kind of person to put on this kind of a mission. He's good at reading maps, not doing anything else, right? So I don't have much else to add to that. And then they make up their differences, and they refuse to leave him behind, and blah, 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 blah. There's, I don't actually have much else to say about this episode. I do love the voice acting of the tactical droids. I always have. They're very, very deep, very cadenced thing that I can't do right now because my throat still hurts, if it's not obvious, because as I've been recording these. But I have a question. So the tactical droid shows up and is like, hands in the air. And of course, R2, that was a good visual gag. I'll give him that. But then, after bringing his reinforcements in, they bungle their way through defeating him. I believe that's known as the Jar Jar effect, or the Jar Jar strategy, if you prefer. And then the very next thing that happens is he decides to spend several minutes trying to defeat them by himself, rather than calling in reinforcements. This is doubly amusing because the very next thing he does after he is defeated is call in reinforcements. Anyways, not a really noteworthy or memorable episode. We'll see if it gets any better next time.